What if, in 1812, Napoleon didn't lose to the Russian winter, but instead won a decisive victory in Moscow? In this alternate history scenario, we explore how the political map of Europe could have changed forever if the French emperor had shattered the Russian Empire and united the continent under his rule. Join us as we dive into a past that never happened, but easily could have. But first, we need to know who Napoleon Bonaparte was. Napoleon Bonaparte was born in 1769 on the island of Corsica, recently taken under French control. Coming from a modest and marginalized background, he quickly demonstrated military and strategic brilliance. During the Revolution, he rapidly rose through the military ranks and, by his late 20s, was leading French armies to victory as a general. He wasn't just a military commander, he was a political innovator. Amidst the chaos of revolution, he restored order and seized power in a coup in 1799. In 1804, he crowned himself emperor. But Napoleon didn't just want to rule France. He sought to reshape all of Europe in his own image. In the early 1800s, Napoleon's campaigns effectively redrew the map of Europe. The French army defeated Austria, Prussia, Spain, and even temporarily subdued the Papal States. Wherever he won, he left not only soldiers, but an entire new system. He introduced the Code Napoleon, the first modern civil law code, abolished feudal privileges and noble rights, established bureaucracies, tax offices, and educational systems, created the first modern sister states, the Kingdom of Italy, the Confederation of the Rhine, the Grand Duchy of Warsaw, the Kingdoms of Holland and Spain, most governed by Bonaparte relatives. This system integrated Europe not just militarily, but politically and socially, under French leadership. In 1812, Napoleon launched his infamous Russian campaign, which, in real history, ended in catastrophe. But what if one strategic decision had changed everything? Let's imagine the campaign progressed faster and with more certainty. By August, Napoleon's troops capture Moscow before the Russians can set it ablaze. Tsar Alexander is forced to abdicate. Napoleon dictates peace and incorporates Russia into his empire as a protectorate. The Code Napoleon is implemented in Moscow. An eastern sister state is born under French occupation, reforms, and a new government. The Orthodox Church and aristocracy are pushed aside, and westernization begins, modeled after France. With Russia subdued, all of Europe falls under Napoleon's control. Rome, Vienna, Berlin, Warsaw, all under French command. The sister states continued to function: the Kingdom of Italy, Confederation of the Rhine, Grand Duchy of Warsaw, the Dutch and Spanish kingdoms, each ruled by a relative of Napoleon. Economic integration proceeds. Through the Continental Blockade, a unified economic zone emerges with trade and customs directed from Paris. France controls money, commerce, and industrialization. Educational reforms spread. Schools, bureaucracies, and tax systems are reorganized across Europe based on the French model. A new generation is raised, not just as national citizens, but as loyal European subjects of a French-led system. But the imperial order cannot last forever. 5 years after victory, in 1817, Russian officers, peasants, and intellectuals form secret societies, and under the leadership of the Sons of Winter, a revolution erupts in Moscow. For a brief moment, it seems they might succeed, but Napoleon acts swiftly. First Moscow, then St. Petersburg is crushed in blood by the French army. Thousands are executed. The revolution's leaders rot in prison. French divisions are stationed throughout Russia to keep order. A heavy price for rebellion. At the peak of his power, Napoleon announces a bold new vision: one Europe, one law, one currency, one people, under French leadership. This was to be the United European Confederation, with unified laws, currency, military, tariffs, and institutions. A federal Europe, but not of equal members. It would be governed from Paris. But the dream never comes true. The wars had exhausted the continent. The peoples of Europe resisted occupation. National identities, religions, languages, and cultures ran too deep. Napoleon's system offered no real equality, only centralized rule under the emperor. In the summer of 1821, at just 51 years old, Napoleon dies unexpectedly, not in exile on St. Helena, but in Paris, in his imperial palace, still at the height of power. But death comes swiftly. His doctor reports a heart attack, some whisper of poisoning, perhaps a conspiracy. One thing is certain. Napoleon was the heart of the empire, and when that heart stopped, the whole system trembled. The throne does not pass to a Bonaparte relative, but to a political heir, Jean-Baptiste Davout, the legendary marshal who, in Napoleon's final years, had already acted as prime minister and remained loyal to the ideals of the Code Napoleon. Davout refuses to reignite war. Instead, he attempts to reform the empire. He creates a federal council with representatives from Paris, Berlin, Rome, and Warsaw. He launches the first version of a European parliament. He proposes a unified currency, the franc. But the people have not forgotten. French troops were seen as occupiers, not liberators. Order rested on Napoleon's charisma, not on institutions. In 1825, a rebellion erupts in Madrid. Spanish peasants, priests, and guerrillas burn down the governor's palace, a second Dos de Mayo. Soon after, Rome, Warsaw, and Prague follow. Former sister states declare independence one after another. The French army is overstretched. The new generals lack Napoleon's brilliance. The empire doesn't fall in war. It collapses under a wave of revolutions. Davout resigns, leaving behind a single line for history. Freedom cannot be suppressed forever, not even in uniform. Napoleon's dream almost came true. A European federation with shared laws, currency, and even joint institutions, but unity enforced through power was never sustainable. When the charismatic leader vanished, the system crumbled. There was no real consensus, only command. And so we arrive at the ultimate questions. What do you think? Can Europe ever be unified without violence? Could the European dream have been fulfilled as early as 1815? Does democracy or centralized leadership offer more stability? And if today we're still struggling with the same questions, what can we learn from Napoleon's alternate empire?